Oh dear. After a quiet, uncontrollable crying, Jenny yanked her unwilling bones up from the cool earth and proceeded up the road, back through town and on to the ferry crossing. She paused only briefly at the top of the hill to glance backward, wave, and unceremoniously wipe any last vestiges of the tears she had shared with the departed ones. Most every eye in town had followed the young girl with sympathetic understanding, and on the return trip the same piercing, questioning eyes reflected a different, more somber grace that filtered a loving concern for the child of 12 so early cast upon the rambunctious waters of life. Slippery Joe was amused to hear the morning's exertion and pressed Jenny for details about why they had thrown her out of school so early, details that would soon circulate widely throughout the county and punctuate many a dinner-table conversation. Jenny, her soft brown curls afloat in the breeze, had transcended the experience already and was coasting homeward up the green, bumpy lane to her house. It was a long, gentle slope rising southward to the hill just beyond. A wall of bright, budding cotton, intense and scintillating, punctuated the air with its pungent aroma. Baked by the noonday sun, it heralded to the world a new beginning, the next spring, so full of hope and promise. The crisp brown hill, permeated with thousands of light green, red, and purple leaf buds, loomed up to the horizon. Downhill toward the river, small brown cattle grazed lazily in the sunlight. She walked happily amidst the tall bushes of forsythia. Dogwood swayed in the cool, late-morning breeze, framing huge, stiff, fan-shaped ferns and sprays of wild strawberries on the ground beneath the trees. Iron-red banks of clay, dotted sporadically with green sprigs and pine seedlings, cradled the earth. Sunshine, color, and fresh air rushed into Jenny's lungs and filled her with incandescent liveliness. It was magically uplifting and invigorating. She ran, skipped, and then danced in a whirling dervish across the earth. Her father's farm was a crescent carved out of the ever-entangling Georgia pine forest. Sandstone rocks, fissured and weather-beaten, lay strewn across the downward-sloping terrain. The river was high, and a ridge of tangling grasses was stranded from the water's earlier egress. Jenny collapsed into a heap, and with half-closed eyes followed the graceful tracings of a red-tailed hawk streaming high in the blue silk sky. Sometimes, as it turned, the bird's staunch brown body faded into the nothingness of the air and disappeared, as if melting into the late spring heat. Suddenly sitting up to pluck a handful of wildflowers, Jenny scanned the lower meadow. She played absently with a blade of watergrass so splendidly clean and new. Tiny atoms of white, pink, blue, green, yellow, and red bounced in the reflection of her keenly observant eyes. All the colors of the world, rotating incandescently in the talisman she held before her, enticed her imagination. She studied the colored patterns incrusted in the field stone, so strikingly uniform as if patterned from an ancient Moslem mosaic. Lulled by the serenity of the moment and the bespeaking calmness of the air, she laid back, dreamily inventing large castles in the huge cumulus clouds that filled the horizon. She imagined countless treasure-filled throne rooms entombed within the fortress walls. Someday I'll be wealthy, she thought, do anything I like. Someday I'll travel the world, meet great people, search for great treasure, collect beautiful things. She searched the sky for faces in the clouds and recognized many of her school lessons. Alexander Graham Bell, Clara Barton, Buffalo Bill Cody, and Jenny Lind were etched in the western horizon. Teddy Roosevelt charged up San Juan Hill with her father in a glorious panorama that spanned the southern sky. Pangs of hunger emanating from her stomach cut short her delusive dreaming, and she sat upright to purvey the scene in anticipation of commencing her homeward journey. Suddenly her eye caught something long and speckled entwined in the reedy refuge at river's edge. She pounced, bounding carelessly and freely down a slight ravine to the water. It was the busted remains of a rowboat, bleached, split, and rotted in the seams. It must have washed down with the spring floods, Jenny decided, rushing to examine it. That rudder is salvageable, she thought gleefully, remembering the oars Slipp'ry had given her last autumn. Now, if I can just get these rusted oarlocks off, we might have the makings of a first-class luxury liner. She ripped any unusual hardware free from the craft, leaping wildly and soaring a snapped-off clapboard into the water. She raced excitedly back up the hillside towards home, clutching her newfound riches. Making it to the Stanhill yard, the young girl paused to regain her composure. She spied a wayfaring intruder down at the road approaching the pasture gate. She rolled her eyes in dismay. It was the Methodist minister Abel Atwood, who doubled as school superintendent, much to the chagrin of many a Campbellton area scholar. He and no other, she muttered, as the somber black-clad figure approached to speaking distance. Jenny, not fully disengaged from her earlier imaginative wanderings, offered, "Something tells me that yonder knight desireth speech with me."